Well, not surprisingly, the fallout from the bombshell interview between Harry and Meghan with Oprah Winfrey, it continues, and there are now calls for an investigation into racism at Buckingham Palace. There's still no reaction at this point from the palace itself, but curious, what do you think is going to happen next?
I think that's the question everyone is waiting for, whether or not Buckingham Palace will respond, should respond. I hope they're taking their time, because I don't think that they have to just answer to all of these allegations from the interview, which are quite serious, but they may have to rethink what their brand is, because, you know, some of the things that came out in this interview, including Harry saying that the British royal family is afraid of the tabloids. Like, this is a family that's been sold to us as the specials, like the ultimate in specialness, right? Almost perfect to the point of divine. When you meet them, you can't just be like, hey, what's up? You have to almost get down on your knees. You have to curtsy. You have to do a bend of the leg that's a certain degree of angle. Like, that's how ludicrous it is that they've set themselves up at this level. And then to find out, oh, wait a minute, you're afraid of the Daily Mail? How embarrassing.
That's a good point.
You're afraid of a newspaper that frequently has alien abductions on its front page, or is talking about drunken people on Ryanair, and you
okay, let me jump in.
Afraid of them.
Okay, hold on. It's not, I think, okay, so for Harry to say that, which on the one hand, I kind of like laugh at a little bit like you are, Lainey, but on the other hand, is for those tabloids, they are serving the British people. The British people are financially supporting, in large part, the British royal family. Therefore, they are beholden to public perception. What these newspapers write about them impact how their people on that side of the pond respond to them, because they own them to a certain degree, because their money is supporting the royal family. They do actually have to worry about their image, as is crafted in the papers, because the Britons have something to say about it.
But in itself, Mel, is interesting. The fact that these people who are above everything, like a celebrity, like a movie star, like a Kim Kardashian, has to worry about image. The Queen, with her divine right and her scepter and her crown, has to worry about image. That is the knock here. Them. They're supposed to be above all that. That's the thing. You're right. I'm not disputing the facts and what you're saying. What I'm saying is the disconnect between a family that has been regarded as above all. We don't worry about these little minor things and have to worry about image. I love it. But it is a hit to that brand. Their perfection, like, do we have to curtsy to them anymore? Seriously, if you're afraid of the Daily Mail, why should I have to bend my knees 45-degree angles when I meet you?
Well, why did it take this an interview for us to realize that? Like, I have to say, I'm going to call out some people on our panel. There's been a long-standing obsession with the royals and royal pomp and royal circumstance. And, you know, it's been fostered through the things we watch. The Crown. Think about, what was that sexy show recently everyone was talking about?
Bridgerton.
I feel like everybody's kind of obsessed with royals, and we've kind of turned a blind eye for a long time. But the fact that it is built on kind of white supremacy, and it has been built on colonialism, it has been built on racism. So the fact that everyone's like, oh my goodness, I mean, it's been very obvious for a long period of time, don't you think?
I think here's the question for me. I think I know what you're saying there, Sin, and I think going back to answering the original question is, what do they have to do next? To me, what's going to be interesting is, will they respond as a family, or will they respond as an employer? And again, as an institution that is beholden to the people of the United Kingdom? Because the allegations were so serious in nature because of the interview, they seemingly have a really big responsibility to look within and be at least saying, oh my gosh, we are a huge employer. We got to do like some serious investigation within our own house. Will they respond that way? Will they respond as a family?
Did they investigate the member of their family who's been accused of participating in a sex trafficking ring with a dead pedophile?
She did it. And I had to be brought up, Lainey, had to be brought up. But listen, Antonio on Facebook wrote us and said, if it's the Queen herself responding, it'll be proper and thorough. But if it's people outside of her inner chamber, who knows? And that's a nice point, Antonio. But just remember that inner chamber, you know, I think it's safe to say that the royal comms team won't try something as blatantly bad timed as suggesting Meghan is a bully on the heels of an explosive Oprah interview. I don't think they're going to try that card, play that one again. But I think
they are going to try to spin doctor.
Exactly. I think what they're going to try to do is explain the things that might be more administrative in nature, like the pulling of security and the title for Archie. And they won't try to explain the things that are less morally damning, like ignoring Meghan's plea for help with her mental health and them being racist. They're going to talk around that.
Yeah, but when we talk about sort of them preemptively coming out, remember when those allegations came out against Meghan and bullying of former aides, they came out and they said they will not tolerate allegations of bullying and harassment. So if you do not tolerate that, how do you feel about racism? I feel like they have to come out with something just as strong. And it's more than just sort of this response. They've had time, right? They knew this interview was going to happen with Oprah. Unlike if you go back to the 1995 interview with Martin Bashir and Diana, that came as a surprise. They've had time, but I think they should be taking their time so that in this response, it's not just about being outraged by some of these accusations, but what they're going to do about it. As an institution, we are hearing the same thing happening now with Meghan talking about her experience that we heard in that 1995 interview with Diana. How come things have not changed after all that time? And if they didn't anticipate that having Meghan join the royal family and being a person of color was going to change things up, then that's ignorance on their part. They should have been prepared for this.
Well, I think they're not prepared because the same people are working there and the same mold of people over and over again. They have again, if you're talking about front-facing diversity, they also have no behind the scenes diversity. So hopefully they're hiring some crisis management, which also would be hilarious that the Queen and her family would need crisis management, just like Alec Baldwin and whatever celebrity gets into trouble. But, if they did have a crisis management consultant, let's say we were playing crisis manager. Mel, what would you suggest? What would you suggest?
Accountability.
Your first move as crisis manager.
Accountability. If you want to make yourself a relic, then keep doing what you've been doing, because it hasn't been working in the eyes, at least of this side of the pond. If you want to modernize and if you want to actually be a relevant institution today and into the future, you need to stop digging in your heels with the way that you've always done things throughout history, which is stiff upper lip, never complain, never explain.
But what's the action? What's the action for accountability?
The action is to actually say the words, I'm sorry, okay?
Who's going to do that apology, though?
So wait, Queen? From the Queen?
Charles?
Like, does she do it from the balcony of Buckingham Palace? Like,
No. There would be an official statement. First of all, this shouldn't start in the public. I certainly hope that if they were, which I'm not confident in this, but if there was a true willingness, I think there's a lot of anger. I don't know that they're even at the stage in their reaction to this to even say the words, I'm sorry, or to even try to see things from Meghan's point of view. I think there's a lot of anger and betrayal and hurt. I think they're going to have to work through a lot of emotion.
There's a lot of fragility, just like with the UK press. Everyone seems to be reacting, in that classic white fragile way, like missing all of the things that Meghan said and just responding with, we're not racist. How dare you?
Yeah, I hope there's a lot of behind the scenes work that will happen either now or very shortly to try to heal this relationship and then release some kind of public statement.